And we are live.
Yes,
Hi, Auset. Hi, dear friends. I'm so happy, so delighted. You see my like smiling. So happy to be here.
I know, me too. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for being here, for wanting to share, and wanted to share about your knowledge and all your journeys with Egyptian mysteries. So, how about we start with this? Can you present yourself to our viewers here and a little bit talk about your background and how you came to?
Okay, yes. Well, I'm Auset. I'm a priestess of Isis and a priestess of Hathor. And I've been working with the Neteru for 10 to 12 years. And just everything that in my experience with them has just blossomed. And I've been able to have a lot of really unexplained magical experiences through meditation, channeling, things like that. That's really brought me into the mysteries of ancient Egypt. And so, early on in my spiritual journey, of course, you do the totem animals and the angels and the ascended masters, and you learn about Reiki and crystal bowls and all of these things. And Egypt just kept calling to me. And so I decided that I would go ahead and just really niche myself into Egypt because that's where my heart was, and that's where it made all of the work just like play. And it really opened up a lot for me. So now I have a Priestess of Isis program, helping other ladies to become a Priestess of Isis. And then from there, we work with Sekhmet and then Hathor. And then also I have my tour company. So we can take people to Egypt and experience the magic firsthand and to walk in places like what's behind me here on my backdrop.
That's, I mean, I'm part of your Patreon and I'm following all the big work you show and the pictures you take about Egypt, as if you are bringing us in a journey and traveling with you. It's not just like, oh, here's what it means, or this is what this deity is, but it's like what I feel from you is that you embody these teachings. Um, so how was it? Because there is a difference between academic teaching and reading and learning, and there is this embody, embody.
Yes, yes. Well, first of all, thank you for being part of my Patreon. I love putting everything together, and I'm so happy to hear that you're enjoying everything. And I especially appreciate your sharing the fact that um, I'm embodying everything that I've learned, because that's my ICM where I lead priestesses into initiation. It's the ICM of the divine Isis within, because so much of ancient Egypt and the word for the gods and goddesses is neter, which became nature. So that means that everything that we see is potentially a divine being. The trees were divine goddesses that gave water to the deceased. The water, the Nile itself, was the god Happy. The air was the god Shu. And so, in my thinking, anytime that you breathe in, you're breathing in these elements of the divine, and you're walking upon the land or the back of the god Geb, and you're interacting with Isis of the green plants. So everything that we do it can have, I will say it this way, it potentially has um, magic intertwined with it. And when we begin to walk in this way where we see everything, now that doesn't mean that we still don't have all of our human dysfunctions and relationship problems and things like that, but it can help us to know that, okay, these things are my lessons. And how am I going to choose to work through this lesson? Am I going to go screaming and fighting all the way? Or am I going to surrender to the big picture and to my higher self and the things that I know that are in my path? So I guess when I share photos and things like that, it's because I feel everything that I'm seeing. And as a photographer, it's I just want to capture the light, not just as a photographer, like the light is everything, but the light inside of the things that we're seeing. So,
Mm.
and you are not the first person that has said that to me about my photos. So, I know that it's all everything that I'm feeling and seeing through my eyes is getting translated into the pictures. So,
This is really interesting what you're talking about because you play also the harp, right? I don't know if the name in English is that.
yes.
You are into music also, and we know that through history that a lot of mathematicians and a lot of inventors and genius people used to combine music, art, and another practice which is considered scientific. And I really find this really interesting to because this for me means there is an ability to feel, understand from a mindset and also from the feeling being side and bring this together.
Yes, yes, that's very true. There's so many people. I mean, I know so many other photographers that also play instruments, and I was very excited to see. I don't know if you're familiar with Ansel Adams, but he was a very famous landscape photographer, and we went to see his exhibit here in the States and got his big, biography book and found out that he played an instrument. And I was just like, that is so amazing. So I agree. I do feel that there's something to the arts themselves um, that lend themselves to opening of the intuition because artists tap into that. They set it, it's almost as if they tap into their emotions, but then they set them aside so they can function using them as a channel to create something, whether that's music. I mean, look at all the artists out there. Adele, her CDs are come from the heart. Taylor Swift, everything is from her experience. It comes from the heart. And so, a lot of times we in the spiritual community think everything has to be, so ultra spiritual. But sometimes, within the nature of the Neteru, everything is divine. Every experience is divine. Every heartache, every loss, every happiness and joy, and all the music and the art that we can bring into the world is all it's a divine act of service.
Yes, I love this divine act of service. This is beautiful. And I feel like we are talking about Hathor here because I feel her presence around talking about art and we love both of us love this goddess and being and I love her. I really love her so much. So we know Isis, but Hathor has always been like, on the back. um, so how did you connect with her? And most of all, I feel like deities come by time, like there is a time for Isis and there is a time for Hathor, and I feel Hathor is coming quite often these times. So what do you think her message is?
Yes. I I I feel that Hathor is the goddess who actually called me. And so that's why I feel I am her priestess as well. Because I was in a channeling class and I've written about this and shared about this a lot, but maybe your listeners haven't heard, but I was working with archangels at that time and I just knew that I was going to channel Archangel Uriel because he and I were so tight and he was going to speak through me all these amazing things to the class. And just your ego gets in there a little bit. And so you close your eyes and you go through this meditation and you cross this bridge and you see a being, and this being comes and I ask for the name, and I hear, I am Hathor. And I'm like, well, I don't know who a Hathor is, so you have to go away because I am waiting for Uriel. And I did this 3 times to her. And each time she just said, I am Hathor, just so patient and kind. And at that point, I was just like, okay, fine, you can be Hathor. And then, like, everything exploded inside of me. My heart started pounding. I couldn't catch my breath. My throat chakra was just like the Grand Canyon. There was no way I was talking to anybody. I was simply just like holding all of this energy that was just pouring into my body. And so we came out of the meditation, I kind of had to be like, okay, I have to get back to the room now. And I was like, what is a Hathor? Because that, I don't know what happened. So my teacher said, well, there's the Hathors. Of course, she was into the ETs. So we went the Tom Kenyon route. But then I, really began to discover Hathor as a goddess of ancient Egypt. And as far as her message today, I was really beginning to feel her, like you said, the Neteru come in when you need them. And last year, I really was feeling her presence. And that's when I created like a workshop series. We were all kind of stuck at home. And so I was like, what am I going to do? And, I still need to reach out. And I've been wanting to teach online for a long time. So the universe is kind of like, here you go. So I started teaching online, and it was so amazing. We did, her festival of joy. So I was reading through all of the ancient texts and finding references to joy and how the ancients connected to their joy and how we could do the same thing today. Working with her as a goddess of gratitude. And then this year I added on a couple of extra classes. I retaught those because they were so much fun. And then I added on a couple of extra ones with Hathor and Thoth as Neteru of the Duat, or the afterlife. So many of us have lost friends and family, not just to COVID, but, heart attacks here, cancer here. So I just felt like that it would be very comforting to have their presence with us. So I had that. And then working with her also as a goddess of fate for the 7 Hathors. And I think that her message to us today is it has to do with connecting with your joy in the midst of sorrow and loss, and remembering your destiny and what it is you're here for. Because when we experience so much challenges, we can forget our path in life, and we can kind of go down some rabbit holes and become very dysfunctional. And she's here to say, you have all of this to do, you have all of these ways to serve other people, and just keep going, keep going, keep going. So and also there's the dance element, an embodiment, taking care of your body and being a very sensual person. I remember years ago, I got up in the morning, it was during the summer, and we had peaches on a tree in the backyard. So I picked some peaches, I ate them in the backyard, feeling the sun on my face. And then I decided that I would wash my hair in the garden hose. And I don't know why. And then just let the wind and the sun, dry my hair. And it was a very sensual morning. Just experiencing the taste of the peaches, the feeling of the sun, washing my hair in the garden hose. It was just, those are the kinds of things that she's like, these are the things that make you feel alive and that can fill up your spirit for when you are feeling depleted.
You're talking about her and the way and what she's teaching, and there is this, I don't know, but there's this sentence coming to me as if she's inviting us to see the world through her eyes, because her eyes are joy, and as if she wants to change our vision about the world and what is happening. And this is really interesting that she came quite often also last year when we opened the Temple of Roses for the French community, and she was having this she was bringing this aspect of vibration, the sound, the beauty, connection to the beauty. And she not like other deities, I feel like her transformation or her way of transforming us is has harmony. It's not like strong or like Sekhmet or other deities, but she's like really gentle. She has
Yes.
this. in her
Yes.
that we feel in you too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But yes, I do feel that that's true. She is very gentle and loving. She's the mother goddess. There's so much to say about her. There really and truly is. And I like how you say she's inviting us to see the world through her eyes, because when you look at the Temple of Dendera, or anywhere actually, that you see those the columns, and then they have the face of Hathor on the tops of them. She's got either curly hair or straight big wig, but she's got this Mona Lisa type of a smile, in everything. And one of her sacred objects is the mirror. So yes, she would want for us to mirror her joy, and for us to be able to see through the mirror of her eyes. So I would agree with that completely.
Beautiful. Now I have a question, special question.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
always on my mind. So, I don't know. I mean, like that in relationships. Like when I'm with some people, and I am like, how to say that? But I stick to these people. I want to know every corner, right, of this relationship and what it offers. But with the deities, there are so many. There are plenty of gods and goddesses, in Egypt. How can you? And I know that you are teaching us about many of them, and you embrace that. How can we live with this multiplicity at the same time? It can be like quite mixing us. So how are you doing it? How can you? How are you doing, like living with the multiplicity of the Neteru?
I think it goes back to a couple of things where you said earlier that, the Neteru kind of show up when you need them to. And it can be, yes, very overwhelming to try to keep straight all of the gods and goddesses and how they interrelate with each other and who belongs to who and who does what. But just know that if you're being drawn to a certain Neteru, or you feel like that they're kind of calling to you, or they show up in a meditation, like that's the Neteru that's working with you in that moment because of the things that you're going through in your life at that time. So, like you felt Hathor, and the joy and the happiness and all of those things. And that was a time where we needed those things. Like everything was locked down and we were like scared, and we didn't know what to do. And we were getting really isolated and withdrawing from other people and kind of getting into a shell. And she was like, no, come out and play, come out and play.
Mm.
Um, I think that in order to not get overwhelmed is just to allow yourself to kind of flow like the Nile, through
Mm.
the path of least resistance. So when you are feeling a god or a goddess that's around you, then begin to work with them and learn about them, read about them, look at pictures of them from ancient art, so that you can better understand them and what they're trying to teach you in your life.
Mm. And there is also this aspect of living with them during all the year, and that's how there are many celebrations and many. So, what I like about your work is also bringing the ancient in the modern days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you are bridging and bringing them so that we can live in daily, like with our problems, with our thoughts, traumas, everything, live with them. So maybe you can say like a word or two about this, because I think it's really important for people to understand that they are not like ancient, they are actually very, very modern.
Right, right. And it's interesting. I was thinking about all of the Neteru the other day, and um, you know, the Neteru, except for Osiris, they're a constant deity. They don't have a day of death like Osiris does. So he is very unique in helping us to understand um, the dying process, the letting go, working through something that maybe someone is trying to do some more mediumship work, those types of things, and connecting with him on that level. But all of the deities, yes, they all have their own birthdays and celebrations, just like you and all of your family and all of your friends. So in 1 month, you might have 3 birthday parties to go to. You might have an anniversary celebration to go to. You might have a wedding to attend. And to me, those are all the same types of things that were happening in ancient Egypt. They were celebrating the birth of, Hathor's son Ihi, or the birth of Horus, Isis and Osiris's son, or they were celebrating the union of the two gods and goddesses. Hathor and Horus would visit each other at their temples, throughout different times of the year. There would be a big procession and they would sail them down the Nile to the other temple. Mut and Amun would get together, and so there were all of these times where I love that, because it's like, oh, the family's getting together and they're celebrating together, like when you would have a family reunion. So all of these things that are happening in the ancient world, we can relate them to us today.
Mm-hmm. And talking about celebration, at the moment we are recording, we are in the month of August. What is the celebration, or what are the celebrations that we can have this month, and how can we maybe celebrate them also?
So one of them would be, and the Egyptian calendar is a little bit mutable just because of the way that the stars moved in ancient times and the way that they do today. So that we have the Egyptian New Year that we're still kind of celebrating. It happened in the end of July, first part of August. It's the rise of Sothis, when we can finally see her just before sunrise. So that would be the new year. So this would be a great time to revamp your New Year's resolutions, kind of just begin to, okay, maybe in January for our calendar, I decided that I wanted to work out 3 times a week. Am I doing that? And no, maybe I'm only working out 1, or maybe I skipped 3 weeks, so it's like rejuvenating some of your resolutions or things or plans that you wanted to do. And maybe something in January you wanted to do was, go hiking, in the woods and visit a waterfall for some reason, and then sit and journal, and you haven't done that yet. So it's August now. So we can begin to think, okay, it's getting into the end of the year. It's the beginning of this year. I can revivify these goals and dreams that I had. Another one that they would do is then that they would celebrate. There was the litany of Sekhmet. And so they would talk about these 7 arrows of hers. And so they would do these ceremonies with the 7 arrows of Sekhmet. And when you read through them, if you think about that, when you read through them, they actually reference the chakra system. So that would be something to use the energy of Sekhmet, that fire, that power, to just do a cleanse of some sort for yourself during this time. And do a caffeine cleanse or a sugar cleanse or something like that.
Or social media cleanse.
Social media, I was just going to go there. Social media cleanse, mental clutter, making sure that you notice when your thoughts are staying in this negative spiral, and you can feel let the anger of Sekhmet, when those stories come up, and say, why are you keep, treating yourself like this? Let's go and let Sekhmet's fire be your cheerleader, to get you out there and clean out some things in your mind, and just to let things go.
That's beautiful. So one last word for us regarding the actual situation. You already said joy, celebration, but maybe something that is coming to us before we put a small end to our interview together today.
To end today. So I guess the thing that I would say is, if you're feeling the presence of a god or a goddess, or you're feeling like you're seeing signs, accept those as signs. And a lot of times people, like I know you do a lot with tarot cards, and you have like a lot of decks. And sometimes people will and I've been guilty of this too, you ask the same question and you look for a different answer. So I would suggest, trying to stay focused on the deity that's calling you. If you're seeing signs, accept them. And when you ask a question, understand that even if you use 12 decks, they're going to give you the same answer. And to also, I guess, one last thing, if I'm trying to cram everything in here, is to not feel like, number one, you're doing anything wrong. If you do an offering or you say a prayer, like, am I doing the offering wrong? Am I doing the ritual wrong? If it comes from your heart, it's right. And the gods and goddesses are not angry with you. I feel like that this is a huge thing, and I'm going to be talking more about this on my own channel, but the gods and goddesses are not angry with you. If you forget to do an offering one day, or if you don't say a prayer to them or whatever, they understand that you have life and they want you to live life. So they don't get angry at you for things. That's a human thing that we put on them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I just remind our viewers, I have the deck that you have created also with Normandy, which is, oh, I see you have this card.
Yes, Kepera. I love it.
Yeah, and I have it. It's I have it also here, which is
Yes.
it's funny. But the Oracle of Sachet, and it comes with a companion book that I don't know what I put because
I have one here.
Yeah, I have it. I was reading it. So you can find the Oracle in Auset's website, her Patreon also, which I come join me and join others who are learning about the deities, and look up for her programs. And I hope to invite you another time because I still have, I have many topics to ask you about.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that for sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our viewers. If you like this video, please put a thumbs up and comment. And I wish you a very, very nice day filled with joy, and look to the world through the eyes of Hathor.
Yes, yes. Thank you.